In this video, we will tell you how Hazrat Ali was martyred, and we will also reveal the mysterious moment from the night of his martyrdom, and also tell which animals were those that blocked the path of Hazrat Ali on the night of his martyrdom. It is a powerful story from that historic night, a story filled with emotion, destiny, and sacrifice, a story that will deeply move your heart. It was a night in Ramadan, and an unusual stillness had settled over the city of Kufa. Yet beneath that calm, a decree had already been written, one that no one could erase, because it concerned the man whom the world knows as Ali al-Murtada, and whom the heavens call Haidar al-Qarar, the noble lady whose blessed marriage was with Ali ibn Abi Talib, the one whose arrival would cause the leader of both worlds, Muhammad, to rise from his place in honor and love. She was the leader of the women of paradise, the coolness of her father's eyes, the radiant and pure Fatima al-Zahra. And who is there that does not know Fatima? The beloved daughter for whom the messenger of God would stand in respect, kiss her hands with affection, and seat her in his own place with deep tenderness. And Ali, that Ali whose bravery is acknowledged even by the heavens, whose justice remains a model for all generations, whose devotion and worship was so profound that even the angels bore witness to it. And then their son, Hussein ibn Ali, that Hussein who did not merely sacrifice his life, but revived faith for all of humanity until the end of time. On the burning sands of Karbala, he proved forever that truth may be severed, but it can never be made to bow. Such a magnificent household fills the heart with light at the very thought of it. A home where the daughter is Fatima, the husband is Ali, and the sons Hassan and Hussein. A family whose radiance will continue to illuminate hearts until the last day. He was the very commander of the faithful about whom the Prophet Muhammad declared on the day of Khaybar that he would give the banner to a man who loves Allah and his messenger, and whom Allah and his messenger love. And when that banner was given to Ali ibn Abi Talib, history witnessed courage, wisdom, and sincerity gathered together in a single soul. Ali was not only a master of the sword, he was also the sovereign of the pen. His collection of sermons and letters, known as Najul Balaga, the Peak of Eloquence, remains a guiding light for the world's greatest thinkers to this day. He famously declared, "The value of a man lies in his excellence and skills." He also taught, "Whoever recognizes their own self recognizes their Lord." There was such a profound magnetic power in his words that even his enemies, upon hearing him, would exclaim, "By God!" These are not the words of a mere mortal. They sit just below the speech of the Creator and far above the speech of any creature. He was the same Ali regarding whom it was said that wisdom was divided into 10 parts, 9 of which were granted to him and 1 to the rest of humanity. The same personality about whom scholars would remark that whenever the Quran addresses "O you who believe," Ali stands as the leader among them, for he was a bearer of both the outward and inward understanding, and his words shook not only hearts, but minds as well. Yet alongside this greatness was a simplicity so profound that he would sometimes walk through the streets of Medina in search of labor due to hunger, drawing water from wells until blisters formed on his hands, then bringing the dates he earned to the messenger of Allah. And when that very Ali became caliph, he would roam the streets of Kufa at night with his face covered, carrying sacks of flour on his shoulders and leaving them silently at the doors of widows and orphans, ensuring that the dignity of the receiver remained intact and the identity of the giver remained unknown. People only discovered this secret after his martyrdom, when they saw the lasting marks on his shoulders from carrying those heavy loads, and they realized that the silent traveler who left provisions every night was none other than Ali himself. This was justice without announcement and charity, without a name, Every aspect of his life reflected sincerity, even to the extent that in battle, when an enemy spat upon his face while he had already overcome him, he withdrew his sword and said that before this moment he was fighting for the sake of Allah, but if he were to strike now, his ego would be involved. And that is the station where the self ends and pure devotion begins. Kindness toward the enemy. When Ibn Muljam was captured and brought before him, he was trembling with fear. Ali noticed that the ropes binding him were tied too tightly. He looked at his captors and said, "Loosen his bonds, for he is a prisoner." Later, when a bowl of milk was brought for Ali, he drank only half and commanded that the remaining half be given to Ibn Muljam. The world has never seen a ruler like him, a man who, even in his final moments, looked after the hunger and thirst of his own assassin. His knowledge was so vast that when a Jewish delegation came to Kufa and asked about the nature of Allah, what he is like, since when he exists and where he is, Ali sat upright and delivered a discourse on divine unity that left minds astonished, explaining that Allah is eternal without beginning, that nothing existed before him, that he was not made from anything, that no space can contain him, and no time can alter him, that he encompasses all things yet is confined by none, that he is nearer than the jugular vein yet utterly beyond all resemblance, and that if one cannot even comprehend the true nature of angels like Gabriel and Michael, how then can one grasp the reality of the Creator? This was the same Ali who would address the world itself and say, "O world, deceive someone else, I have divorced you 3 times," and then sigh, lamenting the shortness of provisions and the length of the journey ahead, even though the world lay at his feet while his heart remained fixed upon the hereafter. Then history took a turn. After the battles of Siffin and Nahrawan, resentment filled the hearts of the Kharijites, and they conspired to assassinate 3 leaders in a single night: Ali in Kufa, Muawiyah in Syria, and Amr ibn al-As in Egypt. And for Ali they appointed Abd al-Rahman ibn Muljam, a man outwardly devout, yet inwardly poisoned with hatred. As Ramadan arrived, Ali would often say that by Allah, in this month his beard would be dyed with the blood of his head. People were startled by these words, but he would smile, certain of the promise made to him by his Lord. On the night of the 19th of Ramadan, he looked toward the sky and declared that this was the very night foretold to him. His daughters urged him not to go to the mosque, yet he replied that when the appointed time arrives, no one can escape it. And before dawn he set out toward the mosque of Kufa, waking people along the way and calling out, "Prayer, prayer," walking not as a ruler but as a servant of the community. Before leaving for the Fajr prayer at the great mosque of Kufa, Imam Ali walked through the courtyard of his home. In that courtyard there were ducks that were usually calm and quiet. However, on this particular night, something very unusual happened. As Imam Ali stepped outside, the ducks suddenly surrounded him and began crying loudly and restlessly. They blocked his path and fluttered around him in a distressed manner. Their cries were so intense that the members of his household became alarmed. His family tried to move the ducks away, thinking they were disturbing him or creating an obstacle in his way. Imam Ali's remark. At that moment, Imam Ali stopped them and said words that later became deeply remembered in Islamic tradition. "Do not move them, for they are wailing and mourning for my death." His response stunned the people around him. It seemed as though he already knew that something tragic was about to happen. Even the voiceless creatures and the silent surroundings seemed grieved by the impending departure of that soul who had never committed an atom of injustice against anyone. He entered the mosque and went into prostration, his lips moving in remembrance, when Ibn Muljam, hiding behind a pillar with a poisoned sword, struck him upon the head. Blood flowed and his beard was stained, and in that very moment he uttered the words that would echo through the ages: "By the Lord of the Kaaba, I have succeeded." This was not a cry of defeat but a declaration of certainty, that the one who has lived a life of justice, worship and sincerity, sees death not as loss, but as triumph. People rushed forward, and Ibn Muljam was captured. Hassan and Hussein wept, but Ali instructed that if he survived, he would judge the matter himself, and if he passed away, the assassin should receive only a single blow in retaliation, and no mutilation, imagine, even for the one who struck him with a poisoned sword. He commanded justice. For 2 days he endured the pain of his wound without complaint, and in his final counsel he urged them to uphold prayer, to care for orphans, to remain attached to the Quran, and to treat their servants with kindness. These were not merely a father's words to his sons, but an imam's final message to an entire nation. On the 21st of Ramadan in the year 40 his soul returned to its Lord, and he was later buried in Najaf, where today the Imam Ali shrine stands as a place of devotion for lovers of Ahlul Bayt from across the world. This is not merely the story of a martyrdom, but the story of a complete life, of a man who turned authority into worship, power into justice, knowledge into guidance, and death into a proclamation of victory. And that is why when his beard was dyed with blood, he did not announce defeat but triumph. For to Ali true life was the hereafter, and true success was the pleasure of his Lord.
İçimde Allah, dilimde Allah, zikrimde Allah.